Kyle Klingman with Track Wrestling, going all the way out to New Jersey with Rutgers head wrestling coach Scott Goodale. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing good, Kyle. Happy to be on with you, man.
Appreciate this. Do you find some value in the lockdown? Are you gaining some new skills?
It's this is crazy to say. For me, it's been the best thing ever. It's been 25 years where I have done nothing but wrestle, recruit, coach. In the spring, I've been on the road. I've never, ever, ever had this time with my family and just to unwind. So for me, it's been great. It's to the point now I'm kind of itching to get back with my guys. You can only do so much Zoom calls with your team and, team bonding on a Zoom call. So, but it's been good, man. We've done more with our incoming freshmen than we've ever done before. So that's been productive. I miss being on the road, but again, it's been good for me. It's something maybe I've needed. I didn't think of it at the time, but it's something I probably needed from a personal standpoint. And I think our staff's done a really good job of using this time to recruit. We have some things we could do at Rutgers, maybe a little bit different from a recruiting standpoint. And our recruiting hasn't skipped a beat. So all that's been good. We miss our guys at this point now and feel it's kind of time to get back.
What can you do to take what you learned in this lockdown and then apply it, whether it's time management or some other skill? How do you apply it going forward?
Well, I think going forward, that's an awesome question. I think we are going to continue to do these type of meetings online, right, with our incoming guys. So we've spent more time with and we have 12 guys coming in. It's a really good recruiting class. We've spent more time with those guys than ever before. And then from an individual meeting standpoint, you're always kind of setting those up around final exams and meeting with the current guys that you have. You're doing that in between finals, workouts, getting ready for Vegas, getting ready for University Nationals, UWW Nationals. So it's always rushed. Now with this pandemic, we were able to sit back as a staff, have one-on-one calls with all these guys and be really, deliberate with what we wanted to get across to them. The feedback we got from them was awesome. We just got a lot more time with them because there's nothing else to do. So I think going forward, we'll continue to do it that way in the spring. I know that kind of sounds crazy, but it's just we just spent more time individually on these type of calls than ever before. So it's been really, really good for us.
Do you think that you are in a good place with the wrestling program? As the administration articulated to you at all that Rutgers wrestling will continue and that you feel solid?
Yeah, I always have. It's a program that we're number 4 in the country in attendance. It's something that draws a lot of people in this state. It's an event. But I always worried about that when I go to speak and when I speak to younger coaches. That's always my thing, is to be on the forefront with your athletic director, have a relationship with your athletic director, let them know what you're doing, and your sport administrators. So I have a good relationship with our administration. It's someone I talk to once a week. I let them know, just like this type of call, what we're doing with our guys, how we're raising money, all that good stuff. So yeah, I feel really, really good where Rutgers is at from a wrestling standpoint. I do worry about other programs. So I've been reaching out to some other coaches across the country, basically what you can do. And I think just like what you said, it's being upfront with your administration and let them know what's going on with your program, and nothing stops, right? Unfortunately, we still got to raise money. We're going to wrestle again. We're still going to have a program. We still have a budget. So that's something we need to work on. And not only our administration, our donors, our fans, there needs to be constant communication with those guys. And we've done that. We've had happy hours with our donors and our fans and these type of calls with all of them and let them in on our program with our staff. So it's a proactive approach. And again, something I think in the future going forward, these are the type of things we'll do.
What have you found from experience that donors, especially of your program, want out of you and out of the program?
They want a winner. That's it. That's the bottom line. They want a team that's full of great individuals that are going to represent the university. They want great students. They don't ever want the university to be embarrassed by a wrestler. But at the end of the day, they want winners. They always, they run to the winners. And that's I think that's what every great program wants. The fans and donors want a winning program, and they want guys that are going to be national champs and All-Americans. Those are the guys they gravitate towards. So they want us to do things right. We talk about it all the time with them. We're going to do it the right way. And maybe this has been slower. And you never want to, I wouldn't call last year a down year. We don't want to have a rebuilding year. We'd like to reload every single year. But last year was kind of a rebuild. And that was hard from a staff standpoint. But our fans and donors understood it and loved it. But at the end of the day, they love to support a winner, and they want to go to the rack and show up on a Friday, Sunday, and be able to beat teams in the Big Ten. They want a team that can win, not only in the conference, but at a national level.
Take that conceptually and what the narrative is as a coach. And you just hear this a lot right now, that it's an effort-based philosophy and it's about the process and that winning comes from the details. But it's the exact opposite of what you're saying there with donors. They want a winner. Did they respect the process?
They don't, they're not behind the scenes, and nor should they be, right? They don't know what's going on today with some of the drama that's going on with our program and with our resident athletes and right, our senior level guys. There's so much more to it than just your program. So they're more of a data-driven group, a win-loss type group. That's what donors are. They don't understand the process, and they don't know what goes on behind the scenes. If somebody screws up, well, they should get rid of him. He's not good for that program. And there's so much more to it in coaching than just that. It's about building men of character, and not every kid that comes out of high school that's a 3-time state champ that is a blue chip kid is going to make it at this level. And there's a learning curve to it. And like you said, there's a process to it. And fans, the diehard fans, don't always understand that. We have a couple guys on our team that were highly recruited, top 5 kids in the country coming out, and just haven't matured enough to understand this level and what you need to do to win national titles and become All-Americans. So it takes a little bit more time, and that's our staff's job, is to really understand a process. And every kid's different, and every kid matures differently, and it is a process, and you got to work with these athletes every single day. Again, it's so much more to it than just wrestling, right? There's so much more, and it's about the character of a kid. And your fans don't always see that. They want an end result. They're result-driven, and they want to know, is this guy going to beat the guy from Iowa, Penn State, Ohio State? That's the guy we want. And sometimes it doesn't always work out that way, and that's the way it is. That's coaching.
When you get a donor and you do have success, how do they want to be recognized for that success?
It's crazy. Some guys don't want their name on anything. Some guys will give $1 million gift and not want their name on it at all. And some guys are out in the open and say, I've donated this money, I would love access. And for me, that's fine, right? It's all about relationships and the access. I've never once closed my doors to anybody that wants to come in our practice room. I'm not afraid of that at all. So I invite people into our practice room because it's wrestling, right? I want these fans and donors, and maybe it's a casual fan, to kind of know what we're doing. So I want them on the inside of our program to see what these guys go through. Communication with professors and teachers, for me, is important. They should know that they're dealing with a wrestler, and invite those professors out to matches. And that goes all the way back to when I was a high school coach and bringing teachers to our matches and things like that. But yeah, I just think it's important to let them know what you're doing, but every donor is different. Some people want credit for it. They want access to your program. And some people, like I said, will give $1 million gift and want anonymous gift. And that's the way they want to go about it.
How would you describe the New Jersey wrestling scene? Crazy.
And that's the best word. Avid, very educational. They understand the sport. They love the sport. And it doesn't go from a college level to a high school level. This thing goes all the way down to recreation and grade school. And it's wild the way it's in a lot of ways troublesome. I worry about, first, second, third graders getting pushed so hard at that level where they're not enjoying the sport. I worry about that a lot. I see those a lot. I go to those tournaments. So that's something that worries me a little bit, but it's a rabid fan base. Again, very educated. They're educated about the sport. They love the sport. And that's what makes it exciting, right? And with that comes expectation. Whether you're a really good high school program or a really good college program, there's expectations. So but it's a rabid fan base. They love this sport in this state, and that's what makes it exciting every single year.
When you walk onto a tournament, you go to any number of tournaments that you might be recruiting someone. Are you pretty well recognized as the coach of Rutgers?
I mean, that's like hard to answer, right? I'm not. Yeah, I find myself in the top right corner of the bleachers, trying to just hang out and kind of go low profile, but it's a very rabid fan base. And I think our whole staff, they walk into a gym and it's hard for them. It's become a little bit uncomfortable for some, where it's gotten to the point where, are you really going there to recruit, because you can't really concentrate on what's going on the mats because you're busy talking to people. So it's become hard for all of us, and I guess that's a good thing, right? That means we're doing something right. If they weren't speaking to us, if they weren't talking to us, that means nobody cares. So it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. I've learned to bring my wife to a bunch of major tournaments. She's kind of my buffer, and that's been helpful. But yeah, if you show up at a tournament, the Rutgers staff is the Princeton staff, the Rider staff, it's pretty it's pretty well known that we're in the building.
Does New Jersey, when you think about the wrestling culture, did they have a competition with the Midwest, whether it's Ohio, Pennsylvania, Iowa, Oklahoma?
Sure. When you talk about, I'm assuming you mean from a high school standpoint, right? What is the best wrestling state? And, on any given year, right, it's Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Jersey, throw California in there. I know Iowa likes to stake claim a little bit to that. So there's some great wrestling states. But, yeah, Jersey always wants to argue they're the best wrestling state, and we're trying to catch the Midwest as far from a collegiate standpoint. That's important. Pennsylvania obviously does it with Penn State, but I think out in the Midwest, college is huge. In the high school level, it's about Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and I stick with that because I truly believe that those are the three best states on any given year.
Does Blair Academy seem like part of the scene there?
Not, it is, I guess, right? Blair's a Jersey school, but they get them from all over, so they don't wrestle in the NJSIAA, so they're not part of the high school scene, so to speak. They're more of a national scene. But for sure, we claim them. I mean, they're Jersey, and they just get those guys from all over the country. So it's a little bit different. When you talk the number one team in New Jersey, they're never I mean, obviously they probably would be every year, but they're never mentioned in that. It's our parochials right now, Del Barton, Bergen Catholic. There's some really good teams down the shore. Phillipsburg, Paulsboro traditionally have been great. Brick Memorial has been great. So Blair is a nationally kind of known commodity. And from there, it goes the high school scene, just not the prep schools, more the public schools, parochials.
You talk about the donors and the investors and the people that wanted to see you succeed. When you had the two national champions and Nick Siriano and Anthony Ashnault after the 2019 NCAA championships, what was the response?
Incredible. Obviously, we did the best fundraising we've ever done before. Like I said, people want to see a winner. There was people coming from football, from basketball, jumping on wrestling to help support what we needed. It was a big reason why we were able to get the new facility. We did a really good job from a wrestling standpoint and raising funds for a $110 million facility. So yeah, that was huge. It wasn't hard making those phone calls. It wasn't hard having these type of calls and communicating. It wasn't hard going to socials and saying, what do you need? This is what we need. Everything from an academic standpoint. Every kid's getting summer school to camps, and people were there willing to support us because what we set out to do, we knew we would do, and eventually we knew we would do. And when it happened, it was a pretty big deal, not only for our staff, our administration, but for the fans and donors.
And then it has to be even bigger deal that you have two Jersey kids doing it too, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's no secret there was a knock, right? There was a knock that you can't get it done at Rutgers. You can't stay home and win at Rutgers. Can't win a national title. You can always be successful. You'll win a ton of dual meets, but you won't have All-Americans. That went on for years. And to have the guys, we started breaking through with Anthony Perotti, Scott Del Vecchio, Kenny Theobald. All these guys were becoming All-Americans. But when Anthony and Nick won, it was, you could do everything you want to do right here. We have obviously the staff was certainly capable with Donnie Critslav and Joe Pollard, John Leonardis, now Kyle Kiss. Brian Murphy at the time. So we had a tremendous staff, but we also had this RTC that was helping develop senior level guys. So not only did we have 2 national champs, we had 2 guys make the world team. So here you are, a school that was never able to produce All-Americans. Now we got 2 national champs, 2 world team members. Ashnolt's also on the national team. So you could do everything you want right here at Rutgers. That was a huge knock on us for a long, long time. Clearly that all kind of went away.
When you're going through it, do you have the foresight that it is a process and that you just don't break down a wall sometimes? It does take some time.
Man, that's a great question. I'm not a patient guy. You know, I thought we would do this a lot sooner than we did. I thought we had the talent and the guys to kind of break through. I've learned, right? I've learned with talking to certain people. I've learned with spending a lot of time with Coach Siriano. I've learned a lot with just really important mentors that, listen, this is going to take time. And everybody said once you break the door down, it would get easier, right? And it still hasn't gotten to the point where we have 3, 4, 5 All-Americans every single year. We're still not really challenging. We're a top 10 program, but are we really challenging for a trophy? So it's still part of the process, and we're still developing fine student athletes and really great wrestlers. But when is the year going to come where you put 5, 6 guys on the podium and you're challenging for a trophy at the national tournament? I think that's our next step. But I had to understand early on, and I think I probably did 6 or 7 years in, that you have to have patience. And most importantly, and I say this everywhere I speak, you got to do it the right way. If you try to cut corners and you try to get a guy just because maybe it's a transfer, a grad transfer, a certain recruit that doesn't fit what you're trying to do, it kind of throws you back a couple years. And will we take some chances on some live wires? Yeah, for sure. But it is a process. This thing takes time, but you got to have the right people on board with you, man. And that doesn't just mean your 30 wrestlers. That means your staff, your trainer, your strength coach, your administration. When you get all that going in the right direction, you have a really, really good chance to do special things. And we're fortunate enough right now we have that.
You mentioned Donnie Critslav, and when I think of him, I think of a grinder and a guy that just will outwork everyone. How does that match your experience with him?
It's been incredible. I learn every single day. I was learning from Donnie when I was at Jackson. When I was at high school, when I was a high school coach, he was at Wisconsin, then Hofstra. I would always call him. I would always call him to pick his brain. And now we get to work together. I guess it's been 7 years now, every single day. And it's not that we agree on everything. He obviously and clearly he has a certain way of going about things. And I respect that. And I have a certain way. Coach Leonardis has a certain way he goes about things. So I think we just respect each other, and we come to this common place where this is what we're going to do to make it work. I'm sure maybe if it was Donnie's program alone, there'd be things that were differently. And there's certain things I listen to him and maybe I kind of want to do differently, but it's a group effort. I think that's been the best thing about being here with him for 7 years and having John for 13 years. And I think that gets lost in what goes on in college wrestling, right? There's a lot of moving around and coaches are always looking for the next best thing. But being with guys, and even Joe Pollard now for 10, 11 years, being with guys and having this unit for the last 7, 8 years has been just huge for our development of our guys, right? They don't have to come to me every single day, especially now during this pandemic, There's guys calling Donnie, they're calling John, they're calling Joe. It doesn't have to be Coach Goodale, and it's never been like that. So that's really, really good. But Critslav is a worker. He is to me, and I'm not trying to sell him. This isn't, and I probably shouldn't even say this. I think he's one of the best coaches in college wrestling. I really do. Every time a job opens up, he gets mentioned. There's a process to it. And thank God he loves New Jersey, man. Thank God he really loves where he's at. His wife, Robin, and 2 girls. They love it here. And but he's probably the best thing that's happened to me for sure as we go through this, like you said, process. And we're not where we want to be yet. We will be soon. And it's an everyday thing. It doesn't stop. So it's a great relationship, and I'm grateful for it.
How do you deal with that inevitability that every human being is different and they are going to come at it different? There's not going to be just some standard plate that you're going to go with, and that probably your assistant coaches are saying in certain situations, I would have done it different than Scott would. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think our guys, our staff, first and foremost, they know I'm very and I learned this from my grandfather, I don't ever want to get rid of a kid. I don't ever want to cut a kid. And as an assistant coach, that's easy. Get rid of him. He's causing a problem. He's not doing good in school. He's a problem. Let's get rid of him. And I don't want to quit on a kid. That's my thing. I learned that from my grandfather, coached 35 years. He never cut an athlete. Football, baseball, Far Rockaway High School would never cut a kid. He always gave him a chance. And maybe they're not the best player. Maybe in this case, they're not the best wrestler, but they're a human and they deserve an opportunity to train, compete, earn an education. You recruited them. They're your guide. So our staff knows that. They know how I feel about that. They've bought into that. I'm sure there's guys that Donnie said, Scott, we got to get rid of. John Leonard's, we got to get rid of. And I give them a second and third and a fourth rope maybe. Maybe I'll take a chance on a transfer if they didn't work out somewhere else. And they end up having a great career here and they end up having a life, and they're great husbands and great fathers. So that's just my thing. And I've learned early on, it's probably the best lesson I've ever learned. Every kid's different. And that's part of coaching. You got to know not only your 30 guys, you got to know their family. You got to know their siblings, how they're living, what they're doing, what their home life is like. Are a single parent, is it an abusive parent? Is it an abusive home? What are they going through? And that's coaching. That's a hard thing to do. It can't be about 3 o'clock in the wrestling room every day. There's so much more that goes into it. I think probably that's more of my job than anybody else's. And that's just not our 30 guys. That's the guys that clean our new facility, right? They're important to us. That's our trainer, again, our strength coach. You just got to know what they're going through because every single kid is different. And that's just always been my approach. And I might have a longer leash than most. But we figure it out. We work on it. And if it's something that Donnie or John is hell bent on and they want something done, we're going to do it. And I don't really fight it. At the end of the day, what's best for the program.
Talk about differences. Elaborate and compare and contrast the differences between your two national champions, Nick Siriano and Anthony Ashnault.
I get that a lot, right? They end up at the same place, but they go about it totally two different ways. Siriano is basically kind of lock yourself in the room and get tunnel vision, and nobody's going to get in the way of what he's trying to accomplish and what he's going to try to do. He wants a plan every single day. His dad wants a plan, and it needs to be structured, who he's training with, why he's training, what he's doing, when he's resting. We have an off day on Wednesday. Siriano doesn't come near the facility on a Wednesday. And when he got locked into that national title run, there was a time where he lost a couple matches to Fix and Nichik, and he wanted to go back to the drawing board, and it was a little bit of time off, and then it was total tunnel vision where nobody got in the way of what he was doing. It was a long, drawn-out plan with him and Donnie on what they were going to do to get this done, and he did it, and it was there was not a whole heck of a lot of communication with teammates. Not that they minded that. They just knew that this guy's on a mission and he's going to attack it, and this is how he's going to go about it. Anthony, a little bit total opposite. Hanging around the staff, free, very social, outgoing, spending time with football coaches and basketball coaches. All of our guys would go home every single night, wouldn't spend time on campus, shut off social media, wasn't on Twitter, wasn't on Instagram, got locked into what he wanted to do, but never made it too big. Never said we're going to make the Big Ten tournament too big. It was about, I got a job to do. Let's go wrestle and have fun. It was it was fun. It was outgoing. He was loosey-goosey. He was around our guys. So totally two different mindsets, but they got to the same point. And at the end of the day, it was about two competitors that felt they should have been national champs, deserved to be national champs. They were on a mission to do it, and it's exactly what they did.
Who's someone in wrestling that at one point you didn't like them, and then eventually you got to know them through different courses, and then you ended up liking them?
Oh man, that's kind of a loaded question. Like, I kind of always loved Pat Downey, even though he was crazy, and I'm dealing with him now, right? He's very outspoken, but as a person, I truly enjoy Pat Downey. I love Pat Downey. Thomas Gillman, you look at Thomas Gillman from Iowa and say, man, that guy's a jerk. He's fighting with everybody. He's so super competitive. He's in people's faces. And then now he spent time with Anthony. I still haven't never talked to him, but Anthony says, what a great kid. And I see him helping all these – the kid's just super competitive. So, again, we've never really spoken, never really met, but that's somebody I would dig to hang out with. That'd be pretty cool to speak with him. But yeah, I think about those guys that are just kind of misunderstood by you spend a little time with Yanni, and he's super outgoing, just a great person, student of the sport. You kind of get that through all of his interviews. But yeah, I think about Downey. Like, I think people don't understand what type of dude. He's a good dude. He really is a good dude. So I think about those guys a lot, and when you're competing against them, you hate them all, right? You just want to beat them so bad, but you don't know them as a person. You don't know them as a person. So yeah, I think Gillman, just because of his relationship with Astronaut right now, and those guys spending a lot of time together over this quarantine and this spring and doing training camps together, is someone that I've always admired the way he competed. I loved it. And here now he's a great kid. That's pretty cool too.
Earlier, you just said that people want a winner, which is true, and your donors want a winner. But does that wear on you at all, like a blanket that you carry around that I got to win?
Yeah, I went through a tough time, man. This isn't probably something that is for the public, but I went through a tough time. It's been a couple years now where I got to the point where coaching became really, really hard. It became really, really difficult, and it was go, go, go. And I just told the story today to a really good friend of mine. We were talking about being burnt, being shot, and just not enjoying the whole process. And, we went two national champs, March 20th, 2019. And we all went out, our donors, our fans, our families, our guys, and we shut the place down in Pittsburgh. It was the best night of my life, right? We shut the bars down. And then we get on a bus and we're getting ready to drive back, and we got a parade waiting for us. And I turned to our assistant coaches. I'm like, you call these recruits, you get these recruits. We never stopped. We just kept going and going and going because we had two national champs. Now we can recruit. We can get everybody. And we never took time, or at least I never took time to enjoy it. So, yeah, there's so many expectations. It was probably up until Coach Siriano got back, where I was meeting with him daily, that really kind of changed my tune midway through January. But I wasn't enjoying it like I should have been enjoying it. I built this thing on relationships, and I say me, but I mean like John Leonardis, Donnie, Joe Pollard. We've built this on a relationship with our fans. And there was a point where I wouldn't go to the rack. I'd sit in my office up until an hour before or during weigh-ins. I'd get there during weigh-ins and then would never go out on the floor like I used to. So I started to enjoy it again towards the end of the year, but there's so many expectations now, which makes it good. It means you're doing something right, which is great. And I don't shy away from that, but you got to enjoy what you're doing. And I got away from that a little bit, and I thought it'd get easier with the two national champs. It got harder. And it didn't help that our football program wasn't winning. It didn't help that our basketball program up until this year wasn't winning, right? People were looking at wrestling like, we got to be a top 10 team. You got to hold center. You got to do your job. And I'm thinking to myself, holy Christmas, we got two All-Americans every year. We're top 15 every year. Like, we need basketball and football to win. That's important for any university. And obviously basketball made their run this year. They would have made the tournament, which was huge. But, yeah, there's expectations. There's pressure. And it was hard for me. And it's not that I didn't want it. I wanted it. That's why we're doing what we're doing, right? It's why I came to Rutgers, to build this program where it was going to be so big. It was on the forefront of everybody's mind. But it got to the point where it got really, really hard. And you get two national champs. Our fans don't care what the lineup is. They want two more. So that's the way it is in Jersey. And again, that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I just needed to do a better job of handling it. It took a lot of different people to help me out in that area.
Scott, I appreciate this time. This was fun to learn more about your program, and certainly as you trek toward getting back to competition, hope you guys can get back in the swing of things here.
I appreciate you having me, Kyle, man. That was pretty good. I didn't think we were going to go all those different ways, but it was good talking about donors and fans and what programs need to do. We're excited, man. We have something really special coming back, so it's going to be a good year of Rutgers wrestling for sure.